Hello, everybody, and welcome to LASL's President Program. Today, we are fortunate to have our guests from the Livingston Parish Public Library here today to talk about how together we can make a difference, school and public library partnerships. With us today, we have Kyla Robertson. She is the head of youth services at the Livingston Parish Public Library. And we also have Michelle Parish, who is the outreach manager and main branch manager. But both of them are the jack of all trades, and they do so much for our public library system. So I am going to turn it over to them. So welcome, Kyla and Michelle. Nice to have you here with us today.
Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Well, we're really excited to be here. We feel like public and school librarians have so much in common, and that partnership is really what makes the community strong. So to get started today, I have a quote for you. So if we could go to the next slide. I love Julie Andrews, and anything she has to say is always worth hearing. So the quote I'm bringing to you today is, "The world is full of magical places, and the library has always been one of them for me. A library can be that special place for our children." So we know that libraries and schools are magical places. There are other magical places. What I really love about this quote is that it talks about our children. We are sharing the same children in this community. We're both pouring into them. And so the more that we can work together to strengthen the resources that we make available to them, the stronger our contribution to their education and their overall well-being in the community will be. So this is about our children, the children that libraries and schools partner to provide magical spaces to. So if we can go to the next slide. Public and school librarian partnerships are a natural partnership because we share the same patrons. So we have those children who we're pouring into from ages 0 to 18 to however far they need to go in progression in their education. And we like to think of it as building the lifelong learners for the next generation. We know that's what schools are doing. So that natural partnership is because we have those same patrons. We also have the same concerns. We're interested in early literacy, or we're constantly trying to bolster the offerings that we give them for that. We know that schools are constantly pouring in and educating those children and developing the same skills that we're concerned with and that we want to help to round out that education on and provide a fun space for them to come and reinforce those concepts. So we have a lot of the same concerns. We're interested in education, early literacy, community growth, building the next leaders for our generation. So all of those concerns just merge together. Our interests are one and the same. And then, of course, we have the same mission. Education, literacy. We are pouring into the community, not just concerned with them reading, but with what they're getting out of their reading and what they're putting back into the community. So we have that same mission. We also have mostly the same tools. We're working with the books, we're working with learning resources, different manipulatives, pouring into them with programs and special interest pieces that they can come and attend. So we have a lot of the same tools that we're utilizing in order to reach the same audience. And we also face the same challenges. How can we make what we're offering interesting? How can we get those kids 0 to 18 and more to connect into what we're doing and get that vested interest so that not only do we feel good about what we're giving them, but they're really getting something out of what we're giving them. So together we can bring those same concerns together and hopefully overcome those challenges. And that's something that's really important to the Livingston Parish Library.
It's getting those resources to them.
Getting those resources
is a big issue
to them and sharing it.
Yeah. So combined with the schools and the libraries, they have a better chance of getting those items that they need and that activity, because
right.
they can't come to the library. They're at school 7 or 8 hours a day.
Exactly.
So, and partnering and sharing those helps out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about access at the end of the day. We're about providing access to resources, experiences, learning opportunities that children may not have. So why do we fail to build this partnership? Well, it's really kind of simple. Unfortunately, it's really simple to not do this. Taking the time to build those partnerships is a lot more effort than not building them. So sometimes communication gets in the way. Like maybe there isn't an open door for communication, or, perhaps we're just not speaking the same lingo when we talk. We're thinking from school perspectives and library perspectives and not seeing how they harmonize. Scheduling and busy workload. I know that for me, summer is a very super busy time. Public librarians all over the world are saying that same thing. So just with scheduling and making the time to connect, and that busy workload can present challenges to partnering. And then, of course, there's the follow through.
Yeah.
As we're thinking through how we're going to do things, sometimes we get a great idea, we've talked about it, and then we just never build out those pieces to deliver on what we talked about. So the follow through is always extremely difficult, but these things can be overcome, and they should be overcome because of the richness of what we can offer together. So let's go and jump to our next slide, because this is something that I feel like the Livingston Parish Library has done well. And so we kind of offer it to the community for ideas about what you can do to open up that door for collaboration between libraries and schools that we've partnered with. So a history of what we've done is initially it kind of started out with facility use cards. Livingston Parish Library reached out to schools, offered them those facility use cards where they could, participate in the resources that we offer, but as a facility. And then it sort of progressed where we were connecting with librarians to engage in school outreaches. We were building those relationships with them and participating in different activities offered by the schools. And then it sort of naturally progressed to where we were actually bringing programs and activities to the schools, as opposed to just being a player in what the schools had already created.
Right.
And then we've been active in reaching out to librarians for summer reading lists, trying to make sure that if there's something that the schools need and we can curtail and dovetail what they have, we want to make sure that we make that accessible to all students in the parish so that they can meet that requirement. And then also we've done in the past deposit collections for those targeted lessons and additional books for English classes, and just offered a lot of great opportunities to work with the library, to utilize our resources, and to share that opportunity with the schools.
This is really important for small libraries, the additional reading material, because we can get books so much faster.
Yep.
Than the school libraries can. And that's nothing on y'all. It's just the way we order and how we have to order in bulk and things like that. And it becomes a financial difficulty for a lot of the small rural schools for their families if they have to buy a copy. I know I have 5 kids that are boom, boom, boom. And I've probably had to buy, is it Save and Winn-Dixie?
Yeah.
4 times. So for the school to be able to call us and say, hey, we're doing Saving Winn-Dixie this month, can you give us 10 additional copies? Well, that's nothing for us once we pull them from all of the branches. Or even if we have to order a few more copies, it's so much easier and faster for us. And it helps your parents. And that is always a good thing. Anytime you don't have to have a parent call and saying, I have to buy one more thing, couldn't you have told me this at the beginning of the school year? So even that small $10 book is a big difference to some people, and especially in this economy right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And these are all things that we started doing, we continue to do them, and we look for more ways to expand on that service. So it's a history, but it's an ongoing history of what we're doing.
Everything on that list we still do. And it's, some things, some years are more important than others. They really look at us for deposit books in some years, a lot more than others. But it's always there. We don't ever take away a service like that.
Right. And we feel like that what we do, we always are looking to amplify the school voices and see how we can partner in that. So it's a big part of it. So we can go to the next slide. Oh, perfect. We're on the next slide. So we know that collaborating can be powerful. So the big thing is just start doing it. If you're not already involved, if you're a school librarian and you don't have that connection with your local public library, then I would suggest that you be the catalyst for the conversation. go through the appropriate channels, but start that conversation so that you can get integrated into what the public library is offering. I know that they'll be thrilled to hear from you.
Yes.
And if they haven't reached out to you, it could be that they're not interested, but I doubt that very highly. So don't be shy about reaching out and opening that line of communication, getting that started, because collaborating is powerful. Teacher in-service days are something that we're actively a part of, where we hope to always be a part of. And we feel like most public libraries are going to be interested in being a part of. Like we've talked about, sharing technology resources. We have so many technology resources through our public library. And we know that a lot of other public libraries are the same way. And it can give students access to things that, maybe it's not relevant for the entire school to have access to podcasting equipment, but it can certainly be a catalyst for a future career for a student, or, be the start of a club, or, whatever that is. Having access to those shared technology resources is absolutely vital. And of course, when we think about technology, there's hardware and software. So, we always have to keep that in mind. There's hardware access and there's software access, and the library can provide access to both. So supplemental books, supplemental materials like our STEM and learning kits. We have so many fabulous learning kits with just, different manipulatives that target core subjects, and that also, can help to accentuate whatever the topic of learning is, and help to bring those back, maybe make them a little bit more clear to a student. So those are available. And we have after-school literacy and STEM programming, classroom visits, library field trips, and then eCards are a big part of what we recommend. So going into a classroom, and whether that's a quick book talk from a librarian or a story time, it's all a great way of integrating what we do into what you do and making that a stronger offering. Library field trips are one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I love it when the schools come out to the library and we get to play with the children, and, whether it's a story time or we have a special program for them, it's something for 0 through 18.
And bring out the button maker.
Oh, always bring out the button maker.
It's our most low tech and probably favorite of all the things that we do for the kids.
They
love the
so
button maker.
easy to just make a child happy by telling anyone, really.
Yeah,
they don't have to be a child. Like, adults get into it too.
Well, and I love now that we can make magnets.
Yeah.
So I have way too many school magnets or library magnets on my desk filing cabinet, because I'm like, oh, I want to make that one.
And I think it's just about that authorship, like giving them the tools that they need and letting their creativity just run wild.
Yeah.
So libraries and schools come together, and we have the opportunity to do that for children.
And we have so many resources in the community too. So for STEM, if a librarian or the science teacher is really struggling on getting those kids interested and wants to bring in NASA, call Kyla. She's got an in. If you want to talk about the North Shore STEM Center and their brain food truck, call me. Those are the things that we also can help each other with, because y'all have resources that we don't have, and we have resources outside the library that you don't have. Or, we could definitely share. We are always looking for people to bring in to do programs and do talks and things like that. So anytime an author that would be interested or anything like that, just definitely send them our way. We do the same thing. I know that the North Shore STEM Center and the Brain Food Truck is always looking for a place to bring their, which is just it's like a van kind of that's got all kinds of STEM stimulation things for the kids to do.
Right.
And so it's a great resource that you probably don't even know is out there. So,
and I think that's one of the interesting things about when we talk about sharing resources, we're also talking about sharing community partners in a way.
Absolutely.
So our community partners, by partnering with you, become your community partners. So there's always that opportunity for sharing.
Right.
Yeah.
I think for too long we've been stuck in our little world saying, oh, well, that's the public school system, or it's the academic, the college school system, and, we're public libraries and we're all different entities. When it comes down to it, we all do the same. We fight for funding. Yeah. We fight to stay relevant. We want to keep everybody coming in and reading and doing the best they can. And those are sometimes where we fall short, is to see that we are all one community. And
Yep.
I think that's something that Livingston Parish does really well. And I hope that everyone takes that and goes back to their parishes or schools
Right.
and says, this is something we can really do. And even if it's not your branch librarian or the director, talk to your children's services,
Yeah.
talk to the ladies who are actually in the branch that are doing the work, because they can be your biggest asset. They can be your biggest
Absolutely.
supporter and fighter, because they'll say, hey, look,
Yeah.
I've become really good friends with this librarian. What can we do to help them?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So basically what we're saying here is don't be afraid to find a thought partner in your public
absolutely.
library and talk about what you can do together and how you can succeed better by collaborating. Because it really does, it comes back to that communication and then knowing what it is you're trying to achieve together. And I think those two things, you can overcome the challenges
Right,
very
right.
easily. So let's tell you a little bit about what we're doing at Livingston Parish. So we can go to the next slide. These are just some examples of resources that we have that we feel like are really great for this whole, school and public library collaboration. So we have, for example, the 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten program that we've launched at the Livingston Parish Library. What's fantastic about that is that whole classes of preschoolers can participate in that program through their teacher. So you have that opportunity to invest. Okay, we know we're going to be reading. This is a way to get kids excited, to get their parents excited about it. And it's a shared resource.
Yes.
So whatever we're offering through the library, the kids get access to
Right.
at no additional cost to the school.
And this is something I'm really excited about, because Kyla and I talked about this when she came and reintroduced this to our kids, that's something we really want to push with outreach this year once school starts, because we didn't get to do that so much last year because there were still so many regulations with COVID and things
Right.
like that. And now that everything's open, so anybody in Livingston Parish that has elementary schools, I'm coming to see you. We really want to push this year and get the kids into it. I know that your pre-K teachers would be thrilled, and we could come in and do story times with them and all kinds of things in
Yeah.
order to get them to this 1,000 books, and then they get to have prizes. And
Right. I mean, we do the milestone meetings. We have the 1,000 books bashes, which, we're actually doing as a way to celebrate their achievements. They don't have to finish. They just need to have been reading and then show up and have party. So, it's a great way for us to collaborate together so we can bring it in, but you guys can also come out to us.
Right. And we can help by coming in and doing some of those things to take a little bit of the load off
Exactly.
your teachers.
Yes.
And, this is where the teacher can say, yeah, come sit and do story time with my kids for a few minutes so I can work on this lesson plan or whatever. So yeah, absolutely. I'll be contacting you, or you contact me, Kyle.
And this is exactly an example of something that can happen in any parish,
Right, absolutely.
Anywhere in Louisiana or out of Louisiana, really.
Right.
Can make that connection with your public library, find out what cool programs they're offering, and then see how you can get involved. Another example is the Digital Media Lab that just opened at Maine.
Yeah, we're excited about that.
That's an exciting resource that gives members of the public access to podcasting and video making and music making and just all kinds of resources that are fabulous and not necessarily easily available.
Right. And getting those teens involved.
Getting teens involved in their passions is a fantastic thing. And you're going to have a lot of teens who are already involved in school programming, but then you've got those teens who maybe have a niche interest.
Right.
And they are really going to benefit from something like this. So, having that Digital Media Lab available to them allows them to come in and exercise their creative freedom,
Right.
Do special projects that are, maybe different from what they're learning at school, but helps to, further that education, further that creative expression. So having, the partnership with your with the public library, with the Digital Media Lab, gives them the opportunity to just, come in and build on what they're already doing at school,
Right.
or to develop something that maybe they're not able to do at school just due to lack of funding.
Right. And this can help out your, I'm going to miss what they're called. Your music teachers that travel. I know Livingston Parish doesn't have, all of their schools don't have just one music teacher.
Yeah.
So they travel around to different schools. The Digital Media Lab is a good idea for them to bring the kids for visits and things like that they don't get a chance to do because they're not in the school all the time. They don't always get to do field trips. So these are ways that they can enhance the theater. If they record something, they can bring it in, and Scott can help them edit it. They can learn editing and all that kind of stuff. We have a green screen. And so, I mean, those teachers that really don't get those extra resources, because let's face it, some of our schools just can't afford it.
Right. Funding is always a challenge.
It's here.
Yep. So that's the same kind of thing, whatever parish you're in, that could potentially be an offering through your public library. Digital media labs are big right now in the public library system. So I would always encourage you to ask, find out, see what they have for you to take advantage of. We also have the Career Center that's just opened up at Denham.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Yeah. And that's, teaching resume writing skills, learning what it takes to open a small business. Your seniors and those who do not want to go to college or looking for something extra, or, need a job before they go to college, that gives them that extra help that you don't always have time to give them for that kind of thing. I mean, this is a one-on-one. They can go in and see Miss Holly Hughes, and she can help them with, their additional computer skills they need to do the job that they want to do. And she can give them those resources. So the Career Center is a big thing, even for students, because you've got those juniors and seniors that are going to start looking for something new, and teachers need to brush up on their resumes. We never like to see one go, but people move, things change, and you always need to be up on those skills too. I know I always.
Yeah. And career skills are just a great asset for students in general. I mean, any high schooler, I would say even into middle school, it's a valuable skill for them to learn. So having the opportunity to maybe come and check out the Career Center as like a field trip, for example, same thing in another parish, just figuring out a way to bring those kids and give them that excitement about, hey, I'm career minded now.
Right.
To the Career Center.
I'm getting to be an adult.
Exactly. So reading challenges, everybody thinks of summer reading when they think public library, and that's because that's such a huge part of what we do. But we actually have reading challenges. A lot of branches, other systems have multiple ongoing reading challenges. We do as well. And so partnering with those during the school year, like with 1,000 books, but there's also, there can be reading challenges for teenagers, there can be reading challenges for middle school, adult. Those are all available. So partnering with your public library and finding out how you can participate in those as just some additional incentives for making reading fun during the school year. Kids do so much reading that I think there can be a tendency to get burnout.
Right.
But having those challenges can re-spark that love
and changing the way the challenges are. Instead of, I know when Kyla came in, instead of doing 3 chapter books for the teens, and now it's reading hours, because some children have, and some teens have challenges when it comes to reading. So if they're sitting there reading for 3 hours a night, that's a big deal for some kids, because it could take them 3 hours to read 2 chapters, because they have that developmental issue that they're dealing with. And so I love that the hours is there instead of a whole book or a whole, 3 books, because for some children, an hour or even 30 minutes is a hard thing to do. So if they need to be rewarded for that, as well as reading and finishing the whole book, you always want them to do that too. But, that makes a big difference, I think, in them wanting to learn to sit down and read, because they know that they can achieve that. They can achieve 30 minutes or 15 minutes a day. They can't always achieve the whole book in 3 weeks.
Right. And we know that reading challenges are a big part of what libraries and schools do. And I think it's always nice to not have to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
So just partnering with your local library and figuring out what they're doing and taking advantage of that is a great asset, and relieves you of some of the difficulty of organizing it.
Yeah.
If they're organizing it, they want participants. So take advantage of it.
Yeah. If you're having them read certain books for the summer, also tell them, well, you've also got the summer reading program at the library.
Exactly.
You've got to read this anyway. Go log your books, get your prizes. Then we have everything in the system saying that they've done it. So that they've checked, they've done it, and they've gotten their, they can show you they've gotten their prizes. So those are always nice.
It's just a great way to make learning fun. Yeah, absolutely.
Who doesn't want a prize?
I mean, I always want a prize. You know that about me.
The slime with the sharks in it this year is just hysterical. So yeah, I like slime.
Who doesn't?
I know.
So anyway, reading challenges are great. Online book clubs can be a fantastic way to get your students plugged in, especially as they start really thinking about what they're reading, not just reading it for the sake of reading. Giving them the opportunity to express their thoughts about a book is a fantastic way, and to hear what other people are thinking about what they're also reading.
And it also helps us too when it comes to collection development, because I mean, our collection development young woman is, you know, a little bit older. She doesn't really do.
She's not a teenager.
Yeah, she doesn't read manga or, you know, some other things like that. So having them tell us, oh, that was a horrible series, don't ever order that again, or something like that really helps. Or if we get requests for online book clubs for the same kind of genre or books, it helps us with collection development. And then we pass that on to when we go out and talk to the librarians at the schools that, oh, did you know your kids are they like this book? You might want to look in this series because your funds are limited. So, you know, just buying something you're not sure of isn't always economical. So, you know, those are always things that we can help.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we're coming to one of my favorites, which is the cultural passes.
Yes.
I think those are so fantastic. And a lot of public library systems are offering those. And while I'm not recommending those for, you know, school field trips, what we do recommend is that you utilize that free entry for, you know, a family of four or so into an institution as extra credit or a way to get them excited about a specific topic that they're learning about. You know, right now our offerings include museums and some parks. So it's a great way to, if there's a specific subject they're learning about, go have them experience history and know that you can partner with your public library to get them in for free, because sometimes it can be difficult to get a family in there. But if the full family goes, then they can have that conversation.
Right.
And talk about, you know, well, this happened in history. What was the most interesting part for you? And then they bring it back to the classroom and they share out.
And it's, even if you have, I have 5 children at home, and then it's my husband and I, if you get a pass for 4 people, then that cuts down your expense too. So everyone can go enjoy it. It's a family event. It gets your family together. And it helps cut down on the expense. And, you know, that's always important.
And it can beautifully complement a learning subject and get a student excited about it in a way that maybe they weren't before.
Yeah. I know right now, and the gentleman on the bookmobile, the Discovermobile and I, Billy, always have this conversation about boys that are about the age of 12 and 13 and World War II. I have never seen an interest in World War II like we saw last year on the Discovermobile. We were getting books left and right for them. So being able to go to the USS Kid and see it after you've done.
Yes. Actually go in and experience that in person. That's where a love for history starts.
Yes.
So it's a huge part of what you can do if you partner and utilize those assets.
And you never know what your parents know until you start talking to them about stuff like that. My boys always get like, you know that?
Exactly.
Especially when it comes to sports. And Jay will push out these sports names from, you know, people way back when, like Wilt Chamberlain or something in the book.
Yeah.
Oh, Dad, you know who that is? I'm like, we're not ancient. We do know some things.
Right. Exactly. And feeling those connections in families is a part of, because we know that engaged parents equal successful students. And so getting them engaged in what their students are learning about is a fantastic way to feel that success.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Miss Amanda, thank you. Okay, so this is a really big item that Livingston Parish has implemented, and that is the eCard. And eCards give our students and teachers all access to all of our digital library. So anything that has to do with databases, homework resources, anything that they can access online through our LPL website, they can use their eCard for. Every year, all new students are uploaded every month during the school year. So all the students have access. And at any point in time, there's a student that doesn't have access, they know they can just call and we can add them in there. What they also can do with that, once they have their eCard and it's They're Livingston Parish residents. Their parents can bring them in and convert those to a regular card. So they still have their eCard. That eCard never goes away because that is attached to their school ID number. So they can still access that online at school with databases that the teachers want to use. But then that also gives them the opportunity to get a real library card that will let them check out physical items like DVDs and video games and things like that. With their eCard, they can go to a branch and access our computer system, so they can use our public computers. They just can't check anything out while they're there. And what's the fun in that? You've got to be able to come in and have all the resources available to you. So that's been a really big implementation that we're very excited about. I know we have several librarians that have us come in and talk about the databases that the kids can use and that kind of thing.
Sure.
All right, Miss Amanda.
And it's just exciting when the kids come in, because we've had them come in for, field trip visits or book talks and those kinds of things. And they know they have an eCard and they're like, well, I want to check out a book. And we're like, well, you can, you just need to get a regular library card. And sign me up. Yeah. I'm ready for that.
And it's nice, though, for them to have even that access with their eCard at home. They can use those eCards to access everything, digital books, audiobooks, things like that through.
Right.
Because they may have a parent who works, into the night and can't get to the library when we're open. So just being able to give them those resources are important. And some of the things that the school, the e-cards give them access to is ABC Mouse at Home. So I know if you were like me and during the COVID pandemic, I had my little one on ABC Mouse, and they were able to access that for free.
Yeah,
it's $50 or $60 a month or something like that, I think.
Yeah.
If you have to purchase that. So that's a huge resource. Bookflix was one that my middle schoolers really liked. They also have historical, because my kids like history. They love reading about Paul Revere and all that kind of thing. Yep. And they're very easy reads. And then you can also, if you have a child, who I do, who has trouble reading, they can read to you also.
Yes.
So I love that it's actual, the book is turning the page and it's the book. They see everything. So it's not like they're just listening to it, and they can see those words on the page.
Yeah. And one thing I really love about Bookflix too is that they pair the fiction with fact and start teaching those children how to discern the difference between, this is a story and this is actually a fact that, I'm learning about.
Right.
And they have the quizzes built into it. It's fantastic.
I love that. I love those. Miss Humblebee's Academy, which is an award-winning e-resource. It's online curriculum for kids 2 to 6. It's an amazing, if you haven't even, just look at it. Even if you have older kids in your classrooms, check it out. It's great. Science Flicks. I love this for teachers. It's 4th through 9th grade, and it gives you experiments to do with your kids.
Yep.
So if you run out of ideas, which we all do,
everybody does,
it will give you a curriculum that you can follow and do science experiments, runs you through it step by step. It's really a nice. TrueFlix, same thing. If you want to learn anything about social studies, this is a good place to go. Good resource. It'll give you the quizzes like Tyler was talking about. It makes your life easier as teachers, and it gives you something different to do. The same curriculum all the time, you looking at it gets boring.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. It gives you fresh ideas.
Yeah.
It's like we said, don't reinvent the wheel if you don't want to.
Right. Homework Louisiana is amazing. They actually get access to a live.
Yeah, because that's part of tutor.com.
Yeah, a live tutor sometimes, different times of the month. I think they have to use.
Yeah, there's a scheduling.
There's a schedule thing, but
for the most part, they can go live and get that additional help that they need if they can't afford to go get a tutor, because that can be a major expense. Khan
Academy, my kids. They really did not like me because of Khan Academy over the pandemic, because we did not have laptops through our elementary and junior high like some schools did. So their curriculum, what they were doing was all paper and through Google Classroom and some,
Yeah, right.
So what I did was I made them all, and my 2 nieces that got dropped off to me because my sister-in-law worked in the hospital had to do Khan Academy.
Yes, yes. And that's a growing resource.
And
it's not stagnant.
And they did learn to love it, and it taught them a lot of things, and it was very easy. So for parents who want additional resources that, their kids need certain help with certain things, it's really a good resource. Gail presents, you can learn 4,000 different things.
Yeah, Udemy is pretty comprehensive.
Yeah. And Learning Express, you can't go wrong. This is offered by the state library, so it's accessed through our parish's library, but it's offered by the state library. So any parish has access to Learning Express if you coordinate with the state library and have those resources. So, and you teachers, we didn't forget about you. EBSCO host, I know if you went to college,
Yes.
If you know anything about that.
Everybody needs EBSCO host.
Yeah, EBSCO is phenomenal. It's a good resource for you to teach your juniors and seniors coming up too, because they are going to use it. I thought that my second round of masters, I would never have to look at EBSCO host again. I was so wrong.
No.
So wrong. Gale eBooks, y'all would love that. Science Resource Center. 640 science encyclopedias and reference books that you just don't have in your library. It's just too expensive to buy those sets of libraries.
And it's constantly changing.
Oh, yeah.
Science is not good for more than 5 years at most.
I know that school libraries do not get enough funding. They just do not. And if they have to buy a new set of encyclopedia every 2 years to keep up, or anything that has to do with facts, it's just too expensive.
Right.
So to have that resource, and we have World Book is also, you can look that up too, with your eCards. And teachers have the eCard too. They have it's tied to your employee number, just like the kids are tied to their student number. So in universal class, we always want to up our knowledge, so you can take any kind of computer course, Excel, Word, you name it, it's in there. And it's continuing education credits.
Which we're all looking for.
Yes.
That's another thing we have in common. Continuing education requirements.
And the fun stuff. We always talk about, helping kids learn and things like that, which is always important. But the fun stuff can be learning too. A to Z World Food. I know a lot of our schools are now looking at, I believe Fort Settlement had in their cooking class, they had a pastry chef or something or they're looking for one or something like that. So I might be wrong. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm not sure. But I know that they did a lot of cooking in that class, and this would be a good resource for them, but it's also a good resource at home. If you've never looked at A through Z World Food, you'll be amazed what you can find out there and cook. Cloud Library is my favorite. I love Cloud Library.
Is it? Okay.
It is. It's my favorite.
My favorite's at the end.
I know. I'm not, to me, Cloud Library is so easy to use. There's so much there. Audio, and now that we have it, you can also go through Apple Store and Google Play, and you can watch movies and things on it.
I learned something new today.
So, and Creative Bug, if you like the Cricut, if you like any of that stuff, all craft videos, over 1,000 of them. I love to do crafts when I have time to do crafts.
Yeah. And it's design experts too. So it's, like a step, we love Pinterest, but it's a step above.
Right.
Yeah. Because it's vetted, curated content.
I said, you love this one so much. Go for it.
I love Hoopla because, it provides so many different options, so you have access to music, you have audiobooks, you have ebooks, graphic novels, all of that into just this one fabulous resource. So I don't know, what more can I say to promote it?
I know. And Hoopla is very popular with a few of our school librarians. I don't know if Tammy's on here, but Tammy at Fort Settlement loves Hoopla. She tells me about it every time I see her. She loves it. And she is probably she has a lot of knowledge about Hoopla. If you have a problem with it, I think she could probably fix it. She pushes that to her kids, and her kids really respond to it. It is a very good resource. And so, they don't have, we want them to read, but an audiobook
Yeah. I mean,
can spark
we're all
their
about meeting
interest.
them where they're at.
Yeah, and spark their interest and get them in on it. It's the same way with me for graphic novels. I know a lot of people are like, oh, that's not a book, but it's a start. And if they really get into this graphic novel, especially the ones that are based off of real books.
Yeah.
And they can go, oh, I want to know more about that. And you're like, well, this was the graphic novel. Here's the book.
Right.
And here's the series.
Even if they're not based on, a classic novel or something like that, they're usually very plot driven.
Yes.
They're rich. So there's a lot of comprehension that you have to take out of it. I mean, just skimming through them for my part, sometimes I get a little bit lost because I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much I'm trying to interpret here. So they do provide a great, reading comprehension exercise.
Right. All right, Miss Amanda, can you hit the next 2 slides? I went over it. I didn't even ask you about changing them. One more. For our parish, this is how you would access an eCard number. So for the teachers and students, we made it really, really easy. Teachers always start with 5599. And then in the last 3 or 4 blocks is where they put their teacher ID number that they use at school. And then in the middle, you fill it in with zeros. Same thing with the kids. They all know that that student ID number that gets them lunch, that, anytime they have to do anything with school, they have to put that school number on it. So they fill that in that last 3 or 4. I think we might have even gone up to 5 numbers now with the more kids we get. And then the middle is filled in with zeros. So they have 5590. Our teachers are 5599. It makes it very simple. It's easy if they have to call me or Kyla and get a child or a teacher entered real quick. We know exactly how to do it without having to fumble around and find it. It's just very simple. Amanda says it makes it super easy too. Yeah, super easy. With Cloud Library, it's really easy to get them into that, and Hoopla, they love it.
So I think what we're recommending for parishes where there's not already an established eCard system is go ahead and open that conversation.
Yeah.
If your school is interested in pursuing that with your public library, point to us as a success story.
Right.
And start that conversation and see how you can work together to meet those needs in your parish.
Yeah, I think that it's really helped. It's helped develop that relationship we have with our librarians even more too, because not only is it just reading, it's all those other resources that they can access through the eCard. And it's just additional resources that the schools just can't provide.
Right.
Those databases are expensive, are very expensive. And I mean, that's a small portion.
Yeah, that's not comprehensive.
Right.
By any means. There's so many more.
Oh, the genealogy that we've just added and all of those things.
Tests, Scholastic Teachables.
Riley.
Yes, Riley.
So yeah, we could talk about this all day.
We could do a webinar just on this. So.
But this is how we have also helped out the schools with our eCards. So our Discover Mobile, which is part of our outreach program, goes around to certain schools. And what we did was we talked about how, the children that would come on the bus don't always have a physical card. And for the young kids, our kindergartners, our first graders, that could be very stressful for them. If they wanted to check out a book and they were told, I'm sorry, you don't have a parent with you can't get a card, or you don't have one. We didn't like that. Billy and I don't like to tell kids no when it comes to that. So we talked to Jennifer and our administration and said, how can we fix this? So we came up with a program where we did a pilot with French Settlement first and Marpaw first. And we have a permission slip, and they can have their parents, we send those home the first part of school, the parents sign them, we keep a copy, the school keeps the copy, and they can check out up to 3 items with that card on the book, on the Discover Mobile only. So they can't take it into a branch and do it, But we found that most of the children that we serve in those two schools, because they're so far out in the southern part of the parish, that it was very hard for their parents to get them to the library.
Yeah.
It's been a huge success. We come one day a month, the kids check out 2 or 3 items. We come back the next month, they bring them back, we swap out with them. At the end of the school year, we do a call out for all books that are owed to the Discover Mobile. And you would be surprised how many kids have gotten all of their things back. Like, it's not, they love it. They love coming out. They don't like to hear that they've got things out and they didn't bring them back and they can't come on the bookmobile or the Discovery Mobile. So it's a big thing. If you want to do this, if you want this to be a service for you, you need to get out there and talk to your librarians so that they can talk to their administration and get this rolling. It's just a good service, especially for the rural areas.
Yeah, we love the concept of bringing the library to our patrons who can't come to us. And this is just one way that we manage to do that. And we do it through partnership with the school where we know our patrons are going to be.
Right. And it's not a lot of work for the librarians. They really help us out by collecting books throughout the month before we get back, because a lot of the little kids don't want to hold on to them. So we've suggested that they just have a big bin, next to their desk, and the kids can just come throw them in there. And at the, when we show up, Billy and I will come get them, or they'll have a kid bring them out to us, and we check them in. And it's just, it's a resource that you really want to have.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it makes a huge difference for them to just know they have that access.
And then again, it's getting books that you don't have access to. On the Discover Mobile, the kids are able to hold requests, just like if they went into the branch.
Right.
So we'll hold, if they want something that we don't have, we'll place it on hold and bring it to them the next month. You just don't have access to buy all those books as fast as we can. And that's just it's a deal breaker for some kids going to the library.
Yeah.
I've read all of those Diary of the Wimpy Kids. You don't have Bad Guys, and I want to read that series. Bad guys everywhere.
With the movie coming out and everything.
And it was actually one of the children that got on the Discovery Mobile and said, "Hey, I want Bad Guys. Y'all don't have it." And we're like, "What is Bad Guys?"
Yeah, they're constantly bringing ideas to us.
Yeah, so it's a great resource, and it got that child was on the Discovery Mobile every month to get his Bad Guy.
Yep. So I mean, that's really a service that comes out of your public library's outreach services. So I'd be willing to bet that they may already have something like this going.
Right.
And you just need to take advantage of it. But if they don't, again, you can point to us as a success story.
Right. And these are some of the current schools that we go to now. Fort Settlement High School, Fort Settlement Elementary is one that we're adding this year. Frost School, Marpaw has been wonderful for us. Miss Donna down there, and Fort Settlement. I can't say enough about Tammy and all that she does for us, and we try to do for her. I mean, when you can walk in and hug your librarian at the high school because you love her so much, I mean, that's a partnership that you just want to have, because it's Amanda, the things that we do with Amanda and love to see her. Those are very important, and it starts with having us in the schools and y'all coming to us. We would do anything. You say you've got a family event. If we can work it, we're there. And that's important. And having kids in the school system, absolutely. All right, y'all. We went 48 minutes, Kyle. They're going to kick us out of here.
They are going to kick us out.
No, we would never kick y'all out. That was fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Amanda.
I wanted to say, so for people that are watching, I live in Livingston Parish. And so Livingston Parish Public Library is my public library. And I've lived here for 44 years. And the library has totally shaped everything of my life growing up. But especially now as a school librarian, because, we can't afford half of the thing, like not even a quarter, a tenth of the things that y'all can afford. We can't afford in the schools. And so I just am so grateful for the partnership that we have between the Livingston Parish Public School System and the Livingston Parish Library. The e-services, the databases, the support, the programming, coming to our STEM activities and family nights. And I'm a 21-year educator, and I used the library constantly when I was an English language arts teacher for getting books and resources. And now as a school librarian, while y'all were talking, I was thinking, there's not a week that goes by that I don't refer a student to one of your services. But we really are all better together. And I urge everyone out there, look at the Livingston Parish Public Library as a model system for how to connect with school libraries. And if you're a school librarian out there watching, I urge you to start that conversation with your public library system, because, we really are better together. It takes a village, and I don't know what we would do without our public library system. So I thank y'all. And this is so informative. And I'm just sitting here and I'm taking notes and thinking, well, of some things I can do this upcoming school year that I haven't done yet, like the bookmobile. I'm like, I need to get on that. But we truly appreciate you coming to speak with us today. Let me take this out so we can see us better. There we go. But again, our guests today were Kyla Robertson and Michelle Parish from the Livingston Parish Public Library. If anybody has any questions, just email us and we will get back to you. But thank you again, Kyla and Michelle, for speaking with us today.
Thanks for having us.
So much.
Anytime.
All right, everybody. Well, that concludes our programming today. And you can share this video. This was live on this link, but the video will also be housed on the same link. So you can share it far and wide to anyone school librarians, public librarians, and we hope you have a good day. So goodbye, everybody.